Hello to all my good friends out there. I welcome you back to another episode of Let's Play Hearthstone 4. As America, let's continue on from last left off. So you sent 3 volunteer divisions over to the lovely Democratic Republic of Iran. So let's see. So we have the Shah of Iran. We have the Islamic Republic and the Socialist here. I need to figure out how exactly we're going to deal with the aftermath, right? Because once the Imperial State is dead, all the other smaller factions will all fight amongst themselves. I think Baluchistan kind of does its own thing, but I have to worry about everybody else, right? CHP victory in Turkey. That gets you to... I think CHP has been in charge the entire time, so we don't actually have to worry about that too much. You know, close areas of support. I guess this probably only benefits when our actual troops are fighting. Okay, let's get you to the front as quickly as we possibly can. Because again, we want to take Qom, we want to take Tehran, and just get our way up to the Aral Sea. Split this in half. Always works. That's what I like doing anytime we're in Iran, is just kind of split that up. Is there anything that we can possibly do to help us out? I don't think there is. When it comes to, grand strategy. Our generals are currently divided over our potential policy for the war ahead. 2 options were given. Either we send our own men into combat to directly influence the course of the war, or we supply the national front from a distance, and let the Iranians be the ones that are fighting. The advisors supporting direct intervention argued that offenses will be carried out quicker and the results will be much faster. Our troops are much more trained and ready than the liberal troops. Americans may die on the battlefield, but the overall number of casualties will be lower than if we only sent weapons. Officers supporting indirect involvement claim that if the U.S. Army lands in Persian soil, it could bring Germany or Japan into the conflict, and that is certainly not going to be for our best intentions. Our best interest. The public isn't showing support for this kind of intervention either, and we will take a resounding victory to even dent their disapproval. The advisors support indirect involvement claim that, first and foremost, less Americans will be sacrificed for freedom. We can trust that the Iranians are capable of using the latest technology that we can offer. The introduction of our arsenal is enough to boost for the National Front troops, and the German or Japanese are less likely to intervene if we only send supplies. Critics believe this will produce a larger death toll, and the war will be drawn out for even longer. Men need to die for freedom, or Iranian men need to die for freedom. Well, the thing is, I've already sent the troops. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but the troops are already out there. Approve more volunteers. I'm not going to worry about you quite yet. Loosen some regulations. We shall loosen all of our restrictions, allowing our allies to purchase more powerful equipment, such as mechanized vehicles and aircraft. We won't worry about that quite yet. You guys have got your supplies. Fantastic. Organization's looking great. Oh, you actually just default straight to the helicopter. I mean, look at these numbers. There's literally nothing that the Iranians can do to stop us. Okay. Looking good. Apparently this went to the Islamic Republic. Well, yeah, whatever, it's fine. Okay, there's improved weapons. And is there anything else? Okay, we're going to turn all of these off for the time being. I don't think we need to send more volunteers. Okay, and that news cycle will be done today. No clear lead still. We're going to run. I'm going to do another positive message. And we're going to appeal to the independents. Okay, second to last media cycle. So we have 2 more of these guys ready to go. Turn you around. Get this guy killed off. Our units are actually fucking incredible. They're actually like, they're so good. The long term or the short term. Military plans are nearly complete, and high-ranking officers are again at the crossroads. This time, the United States must decide whether soldiers will attempt a swift advance to end the war, or prepare for a long haul of attrition. If we send enough soldiers in to overwhelm the enemy, there's a clear chance the war will end once Tehran capitulates, which they already have. However, if this advance fails, there will be a monumental loss of American life, and the war might as well be lost. It's a big risk, but if our troops can pull it off, the war will be won handily, and we'll have our Middle Eastern ally. Alternatively, we could expect a long-term war from the start and try to wear down the foe over time. The war may be longer, but we would have no risk of failing and embarrassing ourselves on the world stage. At the same time, there will be no chance of a swift victory. This route will allow for greater conservation of resources. No, we gotta take the chance. Swift warfare. 240 days. My God, we already own it. 240 days my ass. We're already, like, fucking popping off. Okay, hold your position for a quick second. Hold your position for a quick second. My other helicopter's on his way. Move you up a little bit. Okay, get your way towards Tehran. We want to split you in half. And once you're in Tehran, we got Sari over here in the north. Like, if we win fast enough, is that going to stop the other factions from all fighting each other? I don't think so. I think it's going to happen no matter what. Because you're already down to 40%. Make your way to Sari. We can get our way to Gazvin, which is worth 10 points here. 5961. How many men have we lost so far in this war? 2,200? What the fuck? How's that even possible? Is it due to attrition? Maybe. That's fine. It's not really a big deal one way or the other. But we've taken you next. You're worth 10. Again, I don't want to push in too much. We want to conserve our resources for the push against the other states. Against the Islamic Republic, against the Socialists, against the Shah. I don't think the Shah's going to win. They're looking pretty sad down there, but everyone else, mostly the Islamic Republic, is the one that we're most concerned with, I have to imagine. Push our way into you. See, the thing is, oh, hey! Okay, that's gone out to the Democratic Republic. We can provide you a little bit of support. Because remember, the helicopters are stupidly good. Okay. We have won the initial fight. So our troops are going to come back home. But presumably, this doesn't... Yeah, you're still here. We'll see kind of how that plays. The Saturday Night Massacre. One of the following must be true. The Attorney General has gone to the has gone public, or our allies have been silenced. Or seanced, as it may say. Okay, so we're going to worry about you. Decision to investigate sudden leaders will become unlocked. Okay, so next let's go for stop the redlining. See, here's the thing. We're now seen as an enemy of the American way of life. That sounds bad. Like, when you put it into those terms, it doesn't sound great. We're going to eat... No, let's talk hardline supporters. That's actually the opposite of what I wanted to do. I want to ease Southern fears. Please and thank you. I actually don't have the points for that. We're going to wait a few days, because I pressed the wrong button. Brothers at war. Kenny cleared down across the Resolute desk at Guy and Clark. Clark was leaning forward, jabbing the air with his finger, while Gaulis sat back and scrutably silent. Fucking unbelievable. Continued Clark, ruby-faced and spittle-mouthed. Have you lost your goddamn mind? They may be a bunch of segregationists, racists, obstructionists, Confederates, but the rightists are our party's brothers. Clark collapsed back into his chair, exhausted. Christ's sake, Bobby. We hate them as much as you do, but we should be focusing on reducing their influence within the party, not going after them with the failings of spies, like we're the second coming of Nixon. Clark slumped back, panting and puffing. Guy sighed and leaned forward. Listen, Bobby, I'll keep it brief. Ramsey I can't be part of this. It's an insult to democracy and the Constitution. I went to you first as a friend. Now I come to you as the vice president. This is a formal complaint. Kenny slammed his fist down at the desk, suddenly full of vitriol. Guy narrowed his eyes. Kennedy has been flying off the handle more and more often lately, whenever he was challenged. Do you too, began Kennedy, barely keeping his rage in check, know who you're talking to? I'm the goddamn president. I have no choice. This is to be done if we want to keep Thurmond and Estlund's minions in check. We can't keep waiting until we starve them out. They would do the same thing to us. He raised his arms above him and stared up at the immaculate white-washed ceiling. This is not a crime. This is justice. Silence reigned into the room. Bobby wasn't too sure who said it. Who said the line was burned in the fire of his spirit, and he led the two consider what was once. I'm gonna read that again. Silence reigned in the room, and Bobby wasn't too sure who said it. Who said the line that burned a fire in his spirit and led him to consider... Okay, because it's the wrong two. That's why it's like throwing me off. Led him to consider what was once two friends, the highest traders in America. Something in him died when he called Hoover. But all he could remember was the rage that's instilled in him. Jack would be disappointed in you. Is that in the COINTEL program? Yes. Silence the cabinet. Don't forget what happened to Robespierre. Infiltrate the Nationalist. So do we need to do one of those in order to get to the Saturday Night Massacre? Attorney General's gone public. Be the will of the people, they do not. Like, this seems bad. It seems a little foreboding, no? Okay, we have 2 research slots. Let's go for tank and advanced heavy tank chassis. Chassis. John Kirkpatrick in Georgetown. As John Kirkpatrick ascended the steps, the crowd unfolded before her. She couldn't begin to count how many of them there were. It had been in the thousands. Countless blue flags, torch in hand, and bells upon them. They were waving in the Aegean's wind. A deafening roar came up from them. The words overlapping and jumbled, but not impossible to make out. Her name was being chanted, and she could tell, as were the words for freedom, democracy, and America. Congresswoman Kirkpatrick finally reached the top of the podium and began to address the people before her. She had given the speech 100 times before. She could do it in her sleep by now. Promises about ensuring, protecting, and expanding democracy flowed from her lips like water, and the crowd responded as they always did, a near deafening cheer. She swore the United States could be doing more to fight against fascism, and she preached that the best way to do that was through the Organization of Free Nations. Georgetown listened, and through the miracle of the camera, Washington, D.C. listened, as did Canberra and Ottawa, and more cities than she could count. Cities all over the world. Those in the nations that flew the Organization of Free Nations blue flag proudly next to their own. They listened to Congresswoman Kirkpatrick. There's something different about this speech, however. Both Kirkpatrick and everyone listening could tell. It was difficult to pinpoint exactly. Sense of urgency, perhaps? The newfound purpose? There was a new edge to Kirkpatrick's words, like a fine blade. They were hardened, sharpened, and by the end of her speech, it became quite clear where the edge had come from. Congresswoman took a breath. It is to this and I that I decided to run for president in 1972 for the defense and development of democracy both here and abroad. The bonfire roars. Well, we have the president send guns to the liberals. Absolutely. You will be done in 3 days, and we'll have one more to... We're not going to disband these troops and, you know, kind of bring them back to the other armies. So I think another war will break out in Iran very, very soon. Okay, West Siberia has declared war on everybody in all the smaller states. Excellent, pro-OFN. You know what? We're going to do it again. We're going to run another positive campaign. We're going to appeal to the independents again. You've even declared war on Finland, actually, as well. We'll see how this goes. Like, this is going to be a little bit messy for sure. How many troops do you have? 40 versus 4 to 9. Thing is, like, these are all really, really small countries. The biggest threat is Finland, probably, at 27 to 37. Like, these smaller states will collapse immediately. But can West Siberia secure their position? I guess we'll have to kind of wait and see. Okay, we need to ease southern feeders immediately. Enemies to the American way of life. Like, that's... It sounds really bad. Yeah, they're going to conquer smaller countries. Again, like, some of these have 2 divisions. Some of them have 1. I think one of them we saw had 0. Like, and it's not even going to be close. It really depends on what Finland does. Can Finland, like, can the Northern Russian Republic, can they end up unifying all of Russia? I have to doubt. I mean, actually, I guess this is the end of the Red Menace. The victory. At peace. A free republic. Strong republic. I'm really not too sure. But worry about that some other time. Let's try again. We're only at 34 political power. Okay, we need to actually start saving again. I don't know how we went from like 500 to having 37. I mean, we did spend 150 bolstering support from our hardline allies, which wasn't intentional. I wanted like not to do that, but hey, okay, dangerous progressive. Good. We're no longer an enemy to the American way of life. We say that, but once we start redlining or stopping redlining, you know, the tides might turn once again. Let's just put it that way. So when will you... I think the Japanese backed the Islamic Republic, if I'm remembering correctly. Okay, stop redlining. Integrate schools and whatnot. Like, we're on a thin line. We are on a very, very thin line with Kennedy right now, which is worrying for sure. Like, I'm not going to deny that. What do you want me to do? Maintain social spending? That's more support for progressives. I'm going to turn you off for right now because I don't know if you can spend the political power. Fuck, yeah, we can. We'll spend political power on this, 45. I mean, again, we get 3.4 per day. It's quite a lot. Unfortunately for us, I don't think we can completely abandon redlining. Due to the fact that we're already very progressive. Among the myriad other little humiliations they suffer every single day, African Americans are often the victims of the community-supported informal segregation known as redlining. The custom of white people preventing blacks from settling in certain areas and forcing them into racial ghettos by refusing loans, charging exorbitant interest rates, and engaging in discriminatory banking practices. Redlining is a time-honored tradition, and homogeneously white areas whose homeowners want to remain so, and needless to say, it needs to be stopped if we want to properly integrate America's towns and suburbs. Restricting redlining will be unpopular with business owners and bankers, as well as the wider white population in general. But the unpopularity of our policies have never stopped us from trying to do the right thing before. To deal with redlining, we could either do what's right and go hard on banning the practice, erasing every loophole, or we could try to reserve some of our political capital and put some small but meaningful restrictions in place instead. Reactionaries won't be happy either way, but if we compromise, we might be able to avoid their outrage for once. Unfortunately, I think we need to err on the side of caution. Like, it sucks. This probably wouldn't have happened if I didn't do the massacre. Like, if we were able to avoid the massacre, we would have been probably less likely to be in this situation. We could have been more strict here. Our rather limp-wristed restrictions on redlining have done some good, but overall have proved only mildly effective at combating the discriminatory financial practices. We managed to stomp most of the most egregious approaches, but there's definitely some loopholes in the legislation that the more devious bankers and lenders could use to keep African Americans out of their communities just as they did before. Better than doing nothing at all, but this overall is a rather mediocre outcome. Our new restrictions basically generated no blowback, but we could perhaps take that as a sign that our enemies can't even be bothered opposing them because they don't do much good. President Kennedy leans back in his chair and looks at the immaculate white ceiling and feels frustrated at letting his trepidation prevent him from going all the way. Well, it's going to improve things a little bit. You know, we're going to be a little bit more steady here as well. We might even have to cut back on integration a little bit as well. Again, just because we kind of need to. Because I don't want to get assassinated. Silence the Attorney General. 53 days. Kind of Attorney General has been silenced. That seems bad, right? It gets the event The Fall. I guess we need to silence the cabinet? Because I mean, The Fall is just a bad name. Silence the cabinet. We have to. The pro-OFN government wins in Iceland. When the election results were announced on Iceland, one could see the fever beginning to break the plaza outside of Arthing. Shock, disbelief, running tears. All could be seen on the faces of the protesters and the activists who had gathered to celebrate what they expected to be their moment of triumph. There was hardly a showing from the other camp, that camp that had opted for the stability of Iceland's ties to America's, no matter how objectionable they were as neighbors to the small island. But they didn't need to celebrate. Their vote was their voice, and they had voted for the status quo. The new government, to its credit, acknowledged that some change would be needed. A renegotiated criminal justice framework, more economic investments, stricter curfews, they would all be negotiated with the Americans, and in good time. But Iceland would remain in the OFN, the only guarantee of Icelanders' security. A dog crowd hung in their positions outside the Althing this morning after the vote, waving their flags and hollering slogans to the thinning audience. But as the early sunset came, traffic had resumed in the streets outside the city center. Fleshly clear for the protest barricades, and in the next morning, the last of the protesters had retreated inside of the warmth of their homes. The warmth, what's the temperature in Iceland right now? It's 8 degrees in July? Holy shit. That's kind of crazy. Okay, now we understand. Now I understand why they need the warmth of their homes. I was a little surprised by that. Let's just put it that way. I thought that they would basically be fine. Send more guns to liberals. Okay, we won't worry about you quite yet. But again, this peace is not going to last long. It will collapse. Like, I don't know if they're able to, like, work with each other. Like, I don't know if maybe the Democrats and the communists can, like, agree to work together to fight the Islamists, or what might happen. But either way, we have to keep our eye out here. But I'll say that at least for now, it's going to be a good time for us to end this episode. If you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not doing it, thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.